Do you guys print locally or produce locally your clothing, or is it?
Some with
Yeah.
this new creative center that I'm creating, it's going to be like the coolest place that we can create anything we want locally.
So that's what I was thinking as soon as you said it, was like doing these unique, sound baths or meditation groups or whatever you guys in creative spaces, but also just coming out with like limited lines just for like the creators that come in.
100%. So like
Good
that's
stuff,
what we're
yeah.
doing on Thursday. And this is actually the new merch from that. It's all about, the
cool.
event's called Find Your Feet. And it's all about find your vision board and finding your feet. So
Cool.
we made this custom merch. We made like 200 units of these hats.
That's
this is
awesome.
actually a hat from the 90s, which is really cool. And it's like, it's a real vintage hat from the 90s. An
No
actual
way.
vintage blank from then.
So you
that we
found
used.
200 blanks and then
Yeah. So there's this guy who just like would go to like thrift shops and like everything and like find all these super old unused vintage hats and like buy them in bulk. So that's what we use. So it's like it actually has that same shape, which is
That's
back
cool.
to like unless you explain that, you're just like, oh, it's a hat. But it just the details of that, which is really fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly that's the whole plan. Exactly what you're saying is like
it's cool.
creative center where we make custom stuff in real time. And then like even when we gift you product, like instead of like just gifting you our normal product, like we customize it for you and send you a one-off. And it's like, hey, we made this one-of-one for you. It's this really cool hoodie that has X, Y, and Z because of you for this reason. It's like, that's how you become special.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like speaking of kind of reusing older stuff, which is awesome. I'm a 90s baby, so I love the 90s. But
Yep.
like, can you speak a little bit to like the environmentalist aspect of the company? Because like if you're reusing stuff and then putting it back out, I mean, that's obviously like saving resources and all that. So like, has environmentalism and sustainability kind of affected the way you do business?
Yeah, well, it's actually been really interesting getting into the clothing industry. Like, I don't know if you've heard the statistic where clothing is the number 2 most polluting industry in the world after oil and gas,
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I
which
know
is
that.
nuts to think about, right? Like, but if you think about like these fast fashion companies, you even think about clothes, right? Like, I think the study is like the average person wears a t-shirt 5 to 7 times before discarding it,
Not me.
which
Yeah, I got the same clothes from like 5 years ago, dude.
which is just nuts to think about. But
Yeah.
like, especially people like who just don't want to rewear the same thing, it's pretty wild, the statistics. And even I started doing this in my own closet. And it's very small, but if you have your clothes in a hanger, put them all facing one way at the beginning of the year. And then once you wear it, put it back on the hanger, you do laundry or whatever, or you have someone do your laundry, put it the other way. So at the end of the year, you could see what clothes you actually didn't wear. And like 70% of my closet, I didn't actually touch in a year. And I was like, holy shit. Because you get your same favorite shirt, favorite hoodie.
Yeah.
I just wear that to death. Like I've worn these same pair of jeans probably 2 weeks in a row, not even washing them. Because just like, you just wear your favorite things over and over. So I was fascinated by how polluting clothing is on the consumer side, especially with fast fashion, like Zara and H&M and some of these places, but also what the brands are doing and like just the mountains of inventory that brands create that never see the light of day and that end up either going shipped to or donated or being sent to landfills, which is like absolutely mind blowing. And even some of these high fashion companies, they literally burn stuff. So like
That's crazy.
the high fashion companies, instead of discounting or instead of donating because they don't want their brand in those places, they'll burn good product. And
But
like,
how easy would it be to just even create a sister company from underneath or something, and repurpose all of it into a completely different product?
it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze for that. That goes back to gross margins, right? Like most
Yeah.
products have like 80, 90% gross margin. So it's like, it's cheaper to burn it than to try to do anything with it, especially on these like a luxury handbag, for example, or a luxury t-shirt that might cost $500 in the store, might cost them $10 to make, right? So it's like, it's not even worth trying to recover the $10 for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, as I've started to learn how more polluting fashions become, it's become fascinating to me, especially in today's age. I don't know if you guys know what, like really followed close what happened in the fashion world, but in 2020, demand went crazy. So everyone was locked at home. Everyone was buying everything online. Everyone had their stimulus money and the stock market was roaring and all the crypto coins and whatever they're called are like, everyone was rich in 2020 and buying so much stuff. Companies couldn't keep up with demand because I was in their supply chain issues.
Yeah.
So all these companies tried to order as much product as possible. So right now there's this point where all this products come in and demand's fallen off a cliff. So all these companies, every single major e-commerce brand that you see ads for, every single high fashion, every single clothing brand, even Lululemon, who's like the biggest and best in this world, I think like 30% of their inventory is on sale because like everyone's just trying to move product. Everyone has way too much product in this world. So for me, it becomes really interesting. It's like, how can you actually upcycle product? And how can you like, these companies, especially these e-commerce companies. I'm not going to say names of these well-known direct-to-consumer companies that you guys all know and wear. Like, if their item normally sells for $150, they're trying to offload it at $5 a unit and sell to somebody, whether it's TJ Maxx, whether it is a third-party distributor. So I'm just like,
just to make something on it.
Yeah, they are so grossly over inventoried. And what happens when you become really over inventoried, without geeking out too much on you, is like you end up having all this cash sitting on your balance sheet in a warehouse. So like, let's just say you buy $1 million of inventory that you project will do $5 million in revenue off that inventory. So it's an 80% gross margin. And let me know, because I'm going to geek out here. So let me know if you're following.
Hey, I geeked out with superheroes.
Okay,
so
cool.
You can geek out
let me
on
geek
this.
out on this. So if you buy $1 million, you have 80% gross margin. That means your COGS are $1 million, and it translates to $5 million in revenue. With that, these companies projected that $5 million in revenue, and they might be doing $500,000 a month in revenue or smaller numbers. So they have all this inventory on their balance sheet. They've already paid for. So you have your cash tied up in inventory. So you have to liquidate that inventory to get your cash back. Plus, you're paying storage on top of that, and you're paying fees on top of that. So it's hurting you. It's costing you money. So you have to offload, because if you don't offload that, you can't make room for new inventory or new inventory purchases. So they'll get rid of it at anything.
And it's very seasonal too, right? The industry. So you want to, that makes sense.
You can't, it's extremely seasonal, right? If you have your heavy winter jackets right now, you're not going to be able to sell those for 6 months or 9 months until October or November.
Until next winter, right? So you're paying storage fees on it for a year.
And and it's last year's style that you've already showed and you've already tried to discount. So you have to move that product. So that's what becomes really interesting, because these products that are very high quality, very amazing products, like I'm getting in the world, I'm talking to all these buyers at TJ Maxx or all these different places, and like companies are literally letting products go for free just to get it out of their warehouse. So I'm really interested in like what becomes of that, and like, is there a way to upcycle those in some interesting way or remix things? But yeah, the fashion world, it's really interesting the way there's so much inventory out there, and there's got to be a better way to get it to consumer. And especially a lot of these, especially the e-commerce and direct to consumer brands, the way their models work is like, if they have, let's just say they have 80% margin, they'll spend 50% of every dollar on Facebook just to go reach. And this is traditionally how it's worked. Like, they spend to advertise. And it's like, there's got to be a better way to reach your customer instead of spending 50% of your revenue on Facebook. So it's like, it's just an interesting time.
So you can basically go to any of those companies and get pretty high quality product for almost nothing.
And that's why you see all these companies are like, I don't know if you guys, how aware you are of these sales, but most of these companies that that never go on sale are like 30 to 70% off. And they've been like that for the past 6 months. And if you go look at any of your favorite companies, whether it's Lulu or Faraday or like any of these direct to consumer companies, up to 70% off right now.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.